Winter sun will not cut it for most people in North America, and you probably felt it the moment the days turned short and gray. Lower energy, a dip in mood, colds circulating everywhere, and the nagging question of whether you should take vitamin D and how to do it safely. Today, you are getting a clear, no-drama plan for the 2025 winter that you can actually follow. You will learn exactly how much to take, the best timing that fits real life, how to pair it with food for better absorption, who needs to be extra cautious, and the small habits that make your routine automatic rather than fragile. I will keep it practical, safe, and focused on steps you can start this week. Here is the answer up front so busy people can win immediately. Most healthy adults can use 600 to 800 IU of vitamin D per day through winter. Choose vitamin D3 when possible, and take it with a meal that contains some fat because that improves absorption. The safe upper limit for teens and adults is 4,000 IU per day, unless your clinician tells you otherwise. Time of day matters far less than consistency, so tie your capsule to the meal you almost never skip, and let that single anchor carry you through the darker months. If you only remember one line, remember this: safe dose with food every day. A responsible note before we go further. This is general education, not personal medical advice. If you have a medical condition, if you take certain medications, if you have been told that your vitamin D is very low or very high, or if you are pregnant or nursing, speak with your clinician about testing and dosing that match your situation. The plan you are hearing today is intentionally conservative, practical, and built to guide most people safely through a North American winter. Why winter changes the picture comes down to basic sunlight physics. Your skin makes vitamin D3 when ultraviolet B light, the UVB band, hits it with enough intensity and the right angle. Above roughly the 37-degree north latitude line, winter UVB is too weak or arrives too obliquely for meaningful synthesis during much of the day. In practical terms, across large parts of the United States and through Canada, sun-driven production of D3 falls close to zero from late fall through late winter. That is why depending on sunlight alone, even on a cloudless day, usually disappoints in January and February. Knowing this lets you plan realistically rather than blaming yourself for something physics already decided. Now let's establish the numbers so the supplement aisle stops feeling like a guessing game. The recommended intake for adults ages 19 to 70 is 600 IU per day. Adults older than 70 are advised to aim for 800 IU per day. Those numbers were set assuming minimal sun exposure, which is exactly what winter gives you. There is also an upper level intended for safety. For people aged 9 and older, the safe upper limit is 400 IU per day without medical supervision. Staying at or under that limit keeps you comfortably away from the territory where high calcium, kidney problems, or heart rhythm issues can appear. We are not chasing megadoses or miracles here. We are choosing steady, safe consistency. When you scan a label, you will see two main forms, D2 and D3. D2 is ergocalciferol, and D3 is cholecalciferol. Both can raise blood levels, but D3 generally raises and maintains 25-hydroxyvitamin D more effectively for most people. If you are not strictly vegan, make D3 your default pick. If you are vegan, look for plant-derived D3 made from algae, or use D2 and focus on consistency week after week. You will also notice two different units on labels. Some bottles list micrograms, and others list international units. The conversion is simple. 1 microgram equals 40 IU. Read the back label carefully. Avoid the trap of double dosing by accident. And remember that a soft gel, a chewable, and liquid drops can all deliver the same dose if the numbers match. Timing and food give you easy wins. Vitamin D is fat-soluble, so absorption improves when you take it with a meal that contains some fat. You do not need a heavy plate. Normal food works perfectly well. Eggs, avocado, olive oil on a salad, yogurt with nuts, salmon, peanut butter on toast, or tahini in a grain bowl. People who tie their dose to their largest or most reliable meal usually achieve better blood levels than people who swallow it with black coffee on an empty stomach and then assume the supplement is weak. The second easy win is habit design. Attach your vitamin D to a fixed daily cue you already do without fail. Put the bottle next to your coffee grinder, on your lunchbox, by your olive oil, or inside the cabinet that you open for dinner spices. Set a daily reminder for the first 2 weeks, fill a weekly pill organizer, and make the habit obvious, attractive, and easy. Nutrients rarely act alone, so let's talk about boosters and blockers in the real world. The biggest booster is boring but powerful consistency. If you take the right dose with a fat-containing meal every day, you avoid the 3 days on, 3 days off pattern that keeps levels from budging. A weekly pill organizer turns the invisible habit into something visible and satisfying. You can literally see adherence. The biggest blockers are malabsorption issues and certain medications. If you live with inflammatory bowel disease, celiac disease, a history of bariatric surgery, chronic pancreatitis, significant liver or kidney disease, or if you struggle with unexplained digestive problems, talk to your clinician about testing and tailored dosing. Those conditions change how nutrients move through your body, so the conservative daily plan may need professional adjustments. People frequently ask whether they should test. Routine population testing has not shown clear benefits, so if you are generally healthy, you do not need a blood test to get started with the simple winter plan. Testing becomes useful when you have risk factors, concerning symptoms, or a known deficiency being treated. If you do test, the lab typically reports 25-hydroxyvitamin D in nanograms per milliliter. There is no single magic number that applies to every person in every context, but many authorities treat a result at or above the low 20s as adequate for most healthy adults, and clinicians individualize decisions for pregnancy, bone disease, kidney disease, or other special cases. If you are correcting a low level under medical guidance, rechecking after 8 to 12 weeks gives you and your clinician a clean feedback loop. Safety also means understanding interactions and special conditions. Orlistat, a weight loss medicine that reduces fat absorption, can lower vitamin D absorption. Long-term steroid medicines can change vitamin D metabolism. Certain statins and thiazide diuretics interact with calcium and vitamin D status in ways that matter clinically. These facts are not reasons for panic. They are reminders to check with your clinician before you start supplementing or if you plan to adjust your dose. Some medical conditions require extra caution because the body can activate vitamin D more aggressively. People with granulomatous diseases such as sarcoidosis or with certain lymphomas may develop high calcium more easily if they take high doses without monitoring. If any of those terms apply to you, do not self-experiment. Use professional guidance and lab follow-up. Food and fortification round out the winter strategy. Natural dietary sources include fatty fish such as salmon, mackerel, trout, and sardines, along with fish liver oils. Egg yolks make a small contribution. Some mushrooms exposed to ultraviolet light supply vitamin D too. In everyday North American diets, though, most people get meaningful vitamin D from fortified foods such as milk, plant milks, certain yogurts, and some breakfast cereals. These foods help, but they usually will not deliver enough by themselves during winter, so the smart approach is a both-and combination, a safe daily supplement plus fortified foods that you actually enjoy. Practical pairings make the with food rule effortless. If breakfast is your anchor, take your vitamin D with oatmeal stirred with peanut butter and topped with a few almonds, or with eggs and avocado toast, or with yogurt, granola, and berries. If lunch is more predictable, pair your dose with a salad dressed in olive oil and lemon, a grain bowl with tahini, or a tuna sandwich with olives on the side. If dinner is your rock, take it with baked salmon, roasted vegetables tossed in olive oil, or a bean and rice bowl finished with avocado. For vegan viewers, think tofu scramble with tahini, lentil salad with walnuts, or a chickpea bowl with hummus. The food does not have to be fancy. It just has to be real food with a little fat so that absorption improves. To turn ideas into action, use a 7-day start plan. Day 1. Choose a D3 supplement that delivers 600 to 800 IU per serving, and double-check the units so you are not misled by micrograms versus IU. Day 2. Pick the mealtime you almost never miss and place the bottle where your eyes land during that routine. Day 3. Set a recurring reminder on your phone and fill a weekly pill organizer so you can see progress at a glance. Day 4. Add one fortified food you actually enjoy to your week, like a plant milk you like in coffee, or a yogurt that you genuinely want to eat. Day 5. Write the conversion in marker on the bottle cap. 1 microgram equals 40 IU, so you never second-guess the math. Day 6. Teach one person you live with about your plan, because explaining it out loud makes the habit stick. Day 7. Reflect for 60 seconds on the part that felt easiest and double down on that anchor. A rapid list of winter mistakes can save you time and money. Do not rely on January sun in northern cities and then feel bad when it fails. The physics are against you. Do not take vitamin D on an empty stomach and assume the supplement is weak. Pair it with food and give it a few weeks. Do not bounce between doses and brands based on random ads. Pick a reasonable dose, stick with it, and let consistency do its work. Do not assume a giant weekly dose is automatically better just because it is convenient. Daily dosing is simpler, steadier, and easier to remember for most people. Do not ignore medications or medical conditions that change your needs. Ask your clinician upfront and stay inside the safe limits. Since practical questions always show up in the comments, let's answer a handful quickly and clearly. Is morning better than night? Not really. Use the time you will remember and pair the dosi with a meal that contains some fat. Daily versus weekly. Daily is easier for most people to remember and is a perfectly fine default for winter. And if your clinician prescribes a different schedule for a specific reason, follow their plan. Is D2 useless? No. D2 works, but D3 generally raises and maintains levels more efficiently, which is why I recommend D3 for most non-vegan viewers. Can I rely on food alone? Usually not in winter. Use fortified foods plus a safe daily supplement, so you are not trying to out-eat a sunlight problem. How soon will I feel anything? Experiences vary, and vitamin D is not an energy drink. Focus on safe, steady intake over weeks, and let your clinician guide any testing if needed. Everything we have covered still boils down to one principle. The best plan is the one you will actually follow when life gets busy. If you forget pills at breakfast, make lunch or dinner your anchor. If you travel often, keep a small bottle in your backpack so airports and hotels do not break the chain. If swallowing capsules is uncomfortable, choose drops or chewables that deliver the same safe dose. If you live far north and your winters are especially long, commit to the conservative plan through the darker months and then reassess with your clinician in spring. You now have every piece you need to build a reliable winter routine. You know the safe dose ranges that align with standard guidance. You know why D3 is usually the simplest choice and how to read labels without getting tripped up by unit changes. You know how to pair your dose with normal food so absorption improves. You understand the role of medications and medical conditions. You have a 7-day start plan to get moving this week. You know the common mistakes to avoid, and you have answers to the questions that always come up. Now it is time to put the plan into motion. Here is a final note of encouragement. Winter asks a lot of your body and your mind, but small, safe changes create momentum quickly. Vitamin D is not a miracle pill and not a fad. It is one helpful piece of a winter strategy that also includes decent sleep, quick daylight walks when possible, social connection, balanced meals, and realistic expectations while the days are short. If complicated protocols have burned you out, let this be the permission slip to choose the simpler, safer path. Respect the limits, keep your daily routine boringly consistent, and give the process time. Before we wrap, a quick myth bust and 2 pro tips to make your plan smoother. You do not need timing tricks. The meal you actually eat is the best time. vitamin K2 gets buzz. And while K2 supports normal physiology, there is no rule you must bundle it with vitamin D. If your diet includes leafy greens, legumes, fermented foods, or cheese, you likely cover K vitamins. Calcium shows up in coffee, but unless your clinician identified a low intake, emphasize food sources first. Dairy, fortified plant milks, tofu set with calcium, or leafy greens. Write your chosen dose on a sticky note and tape it to the bottle cap, and keep a spare bottle in your work bag or glove box. The best supplement is the one you can afford, can tolerate, and can stick with every single day through winter at home. If this video helped you, please tap like and subscribe, and tell me your city and which mealtime you plan to use for your vitamin D so I can tailor future episodes to where you live. In the next episode, we will look at how vitamin D pairs with magnesium and what actually matters for sleep quality in the real world. For today, you have a plan that respects science, protects your safety, and fits the way you actually live in winter. Start it this week, stick with it through the season, and give your future self the gift of steadier energy, stronger bones, and a calmer, more resilient winter.